I used to think that following the rules meant I was being a good girl. But what I was really learning over years and years was obedience. Obedience means submission to another's authority. That's still the nature of our schooling system. Hard to believe. A top-down authoritative space. The adults in charge, the students to obey. Do this, now this, do that, do this, do that. Some parents see this method as necessary, believing it builds discipline or prepares our children for the real world. But we rarely stop to ask the questions, what is it actually teaching our children? And what might it be costing them? As a child, I wasn't learning to think for myself. There was no room for curiosity, no space to question, just follow the rules and don't make waves, Heather. Hi, welcome to the Homeschool Info Hub. My name is Heather. This space is here to support you, the parents. Whether you've already pulled your children from school or you're just starting to question the school and whether it's truly working for your child. I've spent over 30 years in the field of education, nearly 2 decades as a classroom elementary school teacher, 10 years in the homeschool world. I built and led my own homeschool program. I've raised my children with freedom and rhythm. And I've also supported my children through moments when they've stepped into the school system. In fact, one of my children is in the system now as a high schooler. So I live on both sides as a former teacher and now as a parent navigating both the homeschooling and public school. And I can say this with full honesty, the system teaches obedience, not thinking. And if you've never watched my video on why the pivotal moment of becoming homeschoolers ourselves, of me stepping away from my school job, and at the time when my children were babies, because I became a kindergarten teacher, and my role was to break the spirits of 5-year-olds so they would begin their life of conformity. It's the truth. It's what it is. In school, we weren't taught to think. We were taught to comply. Relate? If we asked why, it was considered rude. If we disagreed, it was disrespectful. If we followed instructions perfectly, like me, we were rewarded. I was the good student. It didn't matter if the rules made any sense. It didn't matter if the lesson was outdated, boring, wrong. It only simply mattered that we didn't resist. And the better we conformed, the more approval we got. I guess I remember being in middle school maybe, probably 7th grade, and realizing I could get through the whole day without actually thinking. I was actually really good at it. I knew how to be quiet, look busy, nod when appropriate. I did what I was told, even when it felt meaningless. I wasn't learning, I was performing. And honestly, it made me feel safe. I wasn't getting in trouble. I wasn't standing out negatively. I was doing what school trained me to do, obey. And I carried that with me for a very long time. It took me years to see the cost, actually. In adulthood, I struggled to make decisions without asking someone else's opinion first. I'd second guess my ideas even when I felt something strongly, like a spark. I'd freeze when I had to speak up. I'd want to be bold, but fear, of course, kept me very small. I had to relearn how to think for myself, and it wasn't an easy process. But when I began homeschooling, my world opened up. I started to create an environment where curiosity was safe and welcomed. I noticed something. I was unlearning while they were learning. It was amazing. They weren't obeying. My children were wondering. They were solving. They were asking and experimenting and growing, and so was I. I was finally starting to experience the world in a real way. My children have always been encouraged to challenge what doesn't make sense. They've been allowed to be wrong without feeling any shame. They're not trying to get the right answer to please anyone else. They're trying to just simply understand the world. They speak up, they ask questions, they think for themselves, and they're definitely not afraid of any part of that process. They're kind of fierce. That's the beauty of homeschooling. It doesn't voice our natural intellect. It gives them space to breathe, space to develop, space to stretch their thinking. In our home, learning doesn't come from obedience at all. It comes from exploration. It comes from asking questions, making mistakes, and making sense of the world in real time. And that is a beautiful gift to our children. Because when children are free to think, they begin to trust their own minds. They learn to assess, to discern, to weigh options and consider possibilities. They build the kind of confidence that comes not from performing, but from engaging with the world around them, from connecting the dots their own way, from learning how to think, not just what to think. Critical thinking isn't a lesson we teach once. It's a daily practice that's rooted in freedom, trust, and our presence. Our kids don't need to be broken down, despite what people believe, just to be rebuilt in order to grow. They don't need obedience training. They need connection. They need space. They need time. They need us to trust in them. They need love, kindness, support. If you're a parent and you've noticed your child shrinking into obedience, don't ignore that signal. If your child seems quiet, anxious, or overly good at school, ask yourself, what are they learning in order to survive the system? And if you, like me, have had to unlearn people-pleasing just to find your voice again, you're absolutely not alone in this process. This is what homeschooling can offer our children, not just academic flexibility, but a chance to build thinkers instead of followers. Over the next few weeks, I'm going to be sharing videos on the life-changing skills our children can build through homeschooling. Self-trust, emotional regulation, creative thinking, body awareness, real confidence. These are the tools that change our child's life. And they begin with giving our children permission to think, to have their own voice. So stay tuned, stay awake, and keep giving your children the space to become who they are intrinsically, not who the system wants them to be, expects them to be, but who they already are underneath all of it. Our children deserve more. They are not here to be shaped into compliance. They are here to become themselves, and they need us to protect that journey with clarity and with courage. I've said it many times, these children are born with these skills. We're stripping them away when we put them into the system. We're breaking them down. We don't want our children to have to do this work, this inner work when they're adults. Let's let them live through their childhood, knowing themselves, learning themselves, so that when they become an adult, they are ready to be an adult out in the real world, not finding themselves at that point. Thanks so much for being with me today. I appreciate this time with you. Take care. Hope you have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.